Maintenance of a Linux system. Maintaining your system is essential to keep it running efficiently and effectively. Depending on your computer's use, your maintenance schedule could include tasks like backing up files and checking swap space or removing core files. You can automate some of these tasks with shell scripts, and furthermore, you can use the cron program to make these scripts run at regular intervals. In this nugget, we're going to talk about everything from backing up files to the cron program. So let's get started. Let's start with a discussion of backing up your system. Basically, you have three choices for media. You've got tapes, zip disks or some other kind of removable disk, and compact disks or optical disks. And each of these has its advantages. You just have to decide which is best for your setting. To help you make that decision, I've listed out some trade-offs here, some metrics. We'll talk about which media is best in each of these metrics, and maybe that'll help you make your decision of which backup media to choose for your system. The first thing I've done here is list dollars per gigabyte. So it's just how much money are you going to spend to back up your data. And in this metric, tapes and CDs win out. Zip disks are quite a bit more expensive in terms of dollars per gigabyte. And then I've listed sequential versus random access. Random access is faster in certain situations. Let me draw a comparison to your home audio system. Say you've got a cassette player on your home audio system, and you've got this cassette tape, and you want to play the fifth song on that tape. Okay? Well, to play that fifth song on the cassette tape, you have to fast forward through the first four songs to play the fifth song. Whereas your compact disc player in your home audio system, if you want to play the fifth song on the compact disc, you press skip 4 times and press play, and now you're playing the fifth song. Much faster than you were playing the fifth song on the cassette tape. All right? And now, back to draw this comparison back to the backup media, you know, if you backed up your stuff on tapes, zips, and CDs, and you need to restore some file, say somebody accidentally deleted a file, and they want it restored. Well, say, you know, you backed up a couple thousand files, and the file they want restored was like the 1,000th file that you backed up. Well, to restore that file off of tape, you're going to have to fast forward through the first 999 files to restore that file. And to restore that file from a zip disk or a compact disk, you're just going to go right to that 1,000th file and say restore it, and it's going to restore much faster in that situation. So in that situation, random access is going to really beat sequential access when you're just restoring like one file off of a backup. Okay, and then the last thing I wrote here is just capacity. Just how much stuff can you store on one piece of tape or zip or CD. And tape wins out here. A large tape can store 10 times as much as a CD. But again, you just have to make the decision, you know, which of these metrics is most important to you and which one are you going to choose. I choose to use zip disks because somebody gave me a zip drive for free, so I didn't even have to pay for that. I just paid $10 for a zip disk, and you know, I can use that. So there was no overhead for me, which was important because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on something like a tape drive. And you know, even though it's higher dollars per gigabyte, I'm not backing up lots and lots and lots of data, so it doesn't really matter to me. If you had a job like working for NASA or something, though, zip disks would not be the way to go because, you know, the dollars per gigabyte would really start to weigh out because there's so much data you'd be backing up every night, this would just soar through the roof. Okay? So, you know, like I said, you have to make the decision that's best for you. And the other thing you have to decide in this whole process is like a backup schedule. Okay? So there's different types of backups that you can do. There's full backups. When you do a full backup, you're backing up everything on the system. Every last piece of data on the system is in the full backup. And these are just like a really time-consuming process. You can't do these every time you do a backup. You know, in a huge installation, a full backup might take like a whole day. So, you know, if you spend a whole day doing it, and then as soon as you got done, you did another one, that seems like a waste, right? So you do full backups, you know, every month or every few months or something, depending on your installation. And then in between your full backups, you do incremental and differential backups. Incremental backups are like the daily backups. And when you do an incremental backup, you're doing everything since the last incremental backup. Okay? So you do the incremental backups every day, and then, you know, and they're just going every day. And then when you do the full backup again, then you start your incremental cycle over again. Now the problem here is that if you did the full backup, say you do a full backup once a month, and you do incremental backups every night. Well, just say your disk crashed and it failed on like the 29th day of the month. All right? Well, then to restore your system, you'd have to restore the full backup, and then you'd have to restore 29 incremental backups. All right? And that's a lot of work to do that, to restore your system. So that's where differential backups come in. Differential backups do everything since the last full backup. Okay, so here you're just going to do everything since the last full backup, and so in some sense differential backups are just like a globbing together of incremental backups. All right, so maybe I'll do a full backup once a month, I'll do a differential backup every week, and then I'll do an incremental backup like every night. Now if my disk crashed on like the 29th day of the cycle, I'd have to restore one full backup, one differential backup, and then maybe a few incremental backups. Okay, so that's much less work than doing like the 29 incrementals and the one full. The differential is saving us quite a bit of work. So that differential backup is just kind of like a medium-sized backup, everything since the last full backup. And you have to plan out your backup schedule. Like I said, it could be once a month for full backups. It could be once every 3 months, once every 6 months. Depends on how sensitive your information is, how much data there is, and you just have to make those decisions for your particular setting. Probably the most standard way to do backups and restores on a Linux system is with the tar command. Tar stands for tape archive. And if you remember back when we were doing packages and installing new software on our computer, we learned tar then. Sometimes we got our new software in the form of a tar file, or what we call a tarball. And we got this file, and it's just like one file, right? But inside of that file is a whole set of files and directory structure and all that. And when we unwrapped that tar file, we got this whole directory structure with files in it, and then we ran some script to install our software. Well, now what we'll do is we'll use tar sort of the reverse way. And we'll use tar to package up our bunch of our files and directory structures and put that into a tar file. Okay? So let me switch over to be the super user here, so that I can actually do this, because you have to be able to read all the different files that you're going to back up onto your tape or zip disk or whatever you got. Okay, so now I'm the super user, so I'm going to use the tar command, and first I'm going to use the tar command to back up some stuff in the long format. Okay, this is sort of the long-winded format, but it's very explanatory, especially for new users. So this is what I'm going to do for you first. Okay, and then we'll do the shorthand next. So the first option I'm going to give to tar is --create, which says create a tar file. When we were installing software, we would use the --extract option because we were extracting files out of that tar file. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll say --verbose, and this just puts it in verbose mode, meaning it'll tell you all the different errors that are coming up, all the files that are getting put into the tar file, and so on. Then I'm going to say same permissions. Okay, and what this does is it just maintains the permissions in the directories that I'm copying over to the tape or the zip disk. And then I'll say --file, which just creates a file as opposed to some awful thing that gets printed out to the screen. Okay, and right here is where you would give your device. Like, so if I had a tape drive, I would say something like /dev/st1 here. I don't have a tape drive, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the mount point of my zip drive, mount zip, and make a file called tarball1. Now what I would do, if this was a real backup on a regular basis, I would put the date in here somehow so that I can maintain some sort of order, and instead of having all these files on my zip disk, I just maintain this order and saying, okay, this is the backup from this particular day and this particular stuff, okay? And then what you do is you give the directories that you want to back up. So say I just want to back up the home directory and the Etsy directory right now. Okay, so this is what's going to happen, and then this tarball1 file is going to be on my zip disk. Okay, so I'll do this, a bunch of stuff scrolls up the screen. This is all the stuff that it copied in there. And if we go up, let's clear the screen here. Let's go up and look at mount zip. I guess I want to do a long listing there. And you can see the tarball. It's actually kind of big. This is what I wanted to show you. It's an awfully big file, but there's a lot of stuff in the home directory and the Etsy directory. Okay, and so now we've backed up something successfully to an alternative media. Now let me show you the shorthand way to do what we just did before. Okay, let me recall my tar command here. There it is, okay, and I'll just hit Control-C here so I don't do it this time. But now what I'll do is I'll just show you the shorthand format. And the shorthand format basically is all these commands like create, verbose, same permissions, and file, but they all have one-letter abbreviations. So create is C, verbose is V, same permissions is P, and file is F. And so you would do the exact same thing like this. Mount zip, tarball1, /home, followed by /Etsy. And this would do the exact same thing as that other command. And you can see it's a lot less typing. It's kind of cryptic for the new user, CVPF, what's that mean? But for the experienced user, you can decode this and make perfect sense of it and save yourself some time in typing. Now another useful option to the tar command is the verify option. Actually, it's the D option. It's either --diff, you can say, or compare. And what that'll do is it'll actually do some comparison between what you're backing up and what you're writing to the tape. So if if your tape was just really degraded and bad and in bad shape, then this would catch that and it would say, hey, wait.